Jewels of the Mediterranean starts in the island of Malta, where we have 4 nights. We then take a 90-minute ferry ride to Sicily, where we have a total of 7 nights, stopping at Taormina, Agrigento and Palermo. After our stay in Sicily, we take the overnight ferry to Cagliari in Sardinia. We spend 5 nights on this Italian island, travelling from the south right through to the north, before taking a small ferry ride to Bonifacio in Corsica. The tour spends a total of 6 nights on this beautiful French island before leaving Bastia in the north to Nice on the mainland. We stay for 1 night on the French Riviera before we take our Emirates flight back to Australia. Malta's capital Valletta has one of the most imposing harbours in the world. It has been a hive of activity for more than 2,000 years. 200 kilometres from Libya and 90 kilometres from Sicily, Malta has been invaded by just about every seafaring nation on the planet. The reason? It lies in the centre of the busiest maritime passageway in the world. Yet the layered history of the invaders make Malta so compelling today. These countless occupations have produced an architectural style, a cuisine, a language and a mindset that's absolutely fascinating. A walk through Valletta's limestone streets unveils a host of surprises, including St. John's Co-Cathedral. It was built by the Knights of Malta in the 16th century. But what makes it so special is it houses Caravaggio's masterpiece, The Beheading of John the Baptist. The painting is famed for its powerful use of shadow and shafts of light, which create an almost choreographed drama with the subject. In art circles, it's variously described as the painting of the 17th century. Across the Grand Harbour from Valletta is the medieval district of Vittoriosa. This district is a labyrinth of limestone buildings and homes and narrow lanes. When the Knights of Malta settled on the islands, they decided to live in Vittoriosa. Over the next 300 years, they developed Vittoriosa into a fortress that even the Ottomans could not take. Of all of the forces that have shaped the Maltese islands, the Knights of Malta are the most permeable. Vittoriosa is a personification of this influence. On one of the days that we're in Malta, we visit Medina, the old capital of Malta and more than 4,000 years old. This walled fortress city is located inland, but it has views across the entire Maltese island. According to tradition, in 60 AD, the Apostle Paul is said to have lived here after being shipwrecked in the islands. Today, this so-called silent city is home to Malta's noble families, descendants of Norman, Sicilian and Spanish overlords. It has an extraordinary mix of medieval and Baroque architecture. It has played a major role in Malta's past and is a prime source of its cultural heritage. No trip to Malta would be complete without visiting the fishing village of Marsa Schlock. This is Malta's largest fishing port and has been so since antiquity. It does of course have Malta's finest seafood restaurants, and it is the most photogenic place on the whole island. Early the next morning, we leave Malta and take a 90-minute ferry ride to Porto in Sicily. From here we take a short coach ride to Taormina. Perched impossibly on a hilltop and with breathtaking views of Mount Etna and the Bay of Naxos, Taormina alone encapsulates Sicily's history. The town dates back to the 4th century BC and has a perfectly preserved network of medieval streets. Yet the pièce de résistance of Taormina is the Teatro Greco. Originally it was quite small, but the Romans expanded it to suit their own brand of theatre extravaganza. With an unparalleled backdrop, today the theatre is still busy hosting fashion shows and operas. This is Etna volcano, 28th of February 2017. It is 3,350 meters in height and 55 kilometers from Taormina. It is one of the most active volcanoes in the world. Our full-day excursion to Etna is thrilling, yet timed when she's a little bit quieter. With our four-wheel drives, we're able to get up towards the middle of the lava fields. Etna has been active for 2.6 million years. Because of the last 10 years' activity, it is the volcano of the decade. After our 2-night stay in Taormina, we make a 3-hour drive towards the southwest of the country and to the town of Agrigento. Three kilometers from the center of the town of Agrigento is one of the largest archaeological parks in the world. UNESCO listed, the Valley of the Temples is one of the most mesmerizing sites in the Mediterranean, boasting some of the best preserved temples outside of Greece. This is the site of the ancient city of Archagas, the 4th largest in the known world. The Valley of the Temples is a testimony of ancient Hellenic culture in Sicily, bringing together temples of gods and goddesses, as well as necropolis and sanctuaries. Over the years we've made great friends with the family in Agrigento, and they always invite us for dinner, Sicilian style. After 2 nights in Agrigento, we depart for Palermo, via Sicily's rugged southwest coast, one of the most spectacular in all of Italy. On the way to Palermo, we visit one of the oldest and most famous wineries in all of Sicily and Italy. We witness how 3 generations of this family have transformed the process of making wine. And then finally, it's lunchtime. By mid-afternoon, we arrive in the Sicilian capital. Lying on the Tyrrhenian Sea and flanked by mountains, Palermo has a breathtaking location. stay 3 nights in a city that has the dubious honour of being the most conquered in the world. We begin our visit to Palermo in the Baroque heart of the city. This is the Quattro Canti, or Four Corners. 4 beautiful buildings converge on the 2 main intersections of the city. Nearby Four Corners is Pretoria Fountain. It is the focal point for 16 nude statues of nymphs, humans, mermaids. This is the reason why it's often called the Fountain of Shame. We also visit Palermo, the oldest and most lively street food market in all of Palermo. The Cathedral of Palermo was built in the 12th century by the Normans, but on a previous site of a mosque, which was previously built over Christian basilica. The result is a melding of styles over centuries, from Gothic to medieval, and from Arabic to neoclassical. Close to the cathedral is the magnificent Teatro Massimo. Opened in 1897, this is the largest opera house in Italy. Everyone from Maria Callas to Enrico Caruso have lauded the theatre's wonderful acoustics. No visit to this island would be complete without seeing the Sicilian puppets. This tradition started in Palermo in the early 19th century. The recurring theme is medieval heroes who fought for Christendom against the Saracens. In the evening, we head down for Palermo's historic harbour and board our ferry for the overnight journey to Cagliari in Sardinia. We arrive in Cagliari early in the morning. Situated in the very south of the island, this is the gateway to Sardinia, the second largest island in the Mediterranean. Beneath the buildings of the city, there is evidence attesting to human settlement over the course of some 5,000 years, from the Neolithic to today. The beautiful city of Cagliari has also attracted some unusual residents. These pink flamingos live within 1 kilometre of the centre of the city, and sometimes they create a pink cloud over the city itself. Known locally as the Red People, this is the only city in the world where flamingos live in such close proximity. After 2 nights in Cagliari, we head north to the city of Algeria, but first we see something very unusual. This is known as nuraghi. 8,000 of them dot the Sardinian landscape. They are found nowhere else on the planet. They represent Sardinia's greatest and most mysterious archaeological treasures. This civilization dates back to 1800 BC. Yet incredibly, they were only discovered in the 1930s. By mid-afternoon, we reach Alghero on Sardinia's northwest coast. Enclosed by massive sea walls, this town is an enclave of tightly knit cobbled lanes. It is the most beautiful and best preserved of all Sardinia's medieval towns. In the early 14th century, Spanish Catalans colonised Alghero. They remained for 300 years, and the result is that many people speak Catalan today. Much of the architecture is Gothic, and the Spanish atmosphere is palpable. one of the 2 days that we're in Algeria, we take a boat ride out to a wild nature reserve known as Capo Cassia. Crystal clear waters and limestone hide an underground cave system called Neptune. This incredible grotto was formed about 2 million years ago. It was discovered by a local fisherman in the 18th century. The karst formations are absolutely astounding. After our stay in Algeria, we head towards the very north tip of Sardinia and the town of Palermo. Nearby, there is a small port called Santa Teresa, and this is where we board our ferry for Bonifacio in Corsica. Crossing this narrow strait is very quick, and after 40 minutes we will see the magnificent sight of Bonifacio. The town teeters precariously on top of a limestone cliff that juts out into the sea. It runs east to west for 1.5 kilometers. It has to be seen to be believed. Yet Bonifacio is far more than a jaw-dropping location. On the upper town there is a 9th century citadel whose fortified walls lend the town to an aura of impregnability. Just below the citadel, the old centre has been lovingly restored. Inside this labyrinth of alleyways, there are churches, chapels, palazzi, restaurants and secret piazzas. Our hotel is located right on the marina with splendid views of the citadel above. This is the liveliest and most atmospheric area in Bonifacio. The French often describe Corsica as the mountain in the Mediterranean, and when we leave Bonifacio after 2 nights, we start to understand why. We are headed for the Corsican capital of Ajaccio, but first we stop in the mountain village of Sartain. This small town sits on a rocky spur in the heart of the Alto Rocco Mountains. Like many of the towns in the Alto Rocco region, Sartain grew up in the 16th century. The buildings and streets are made of granite, so they blend harmoniously with the landscape. We leave the interior of the island, and by lunchtime we arrive in Ajaccio. This handsome city has a starring role in history, and it knows it. These tangled old lanes lead us to the birthplace of Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon was born in this house on the 15th of August, 1769. He lived here till he went to school at 8 years old, though he frequently returned during holidays. The house is now an amazing museum. Many of the artifacts are original, and this is the salon that Napoleon's mother Maria decorated herself. The next day, we take an extraordinary excursion to the UNESCO-listed Calanques de Piana. Narrow roads, etched into the Red Mountains, take us into the legendary Corsican fairy tale. By lunchtime, we reach the remote village of Porto. Lying between cliffs and forests and facing the Gulf de Porto, the setting for this village could hardly be more magnificent. After lunch, we board a boat to explore the marine and terrestrial nature reserve of Scandola. The boat meanders its way through incredible basalt cliffs and caves. These landscapes are shaped by erosion. The red rocks of the ancient caldera contrast with intense blue water. The next day, we leave Ajaccio for the northern port city of Bastia. Only 100 kilometers from the Italian mainland, Bastia was the capital of Corsica until 1791. The town is made up of a network of alleyways connected by dark vaulted passageways with classical facades. The lower town sits on the marina, a bustling place that has been beautifully restored. The next day, we make an excursion to the finger of Corsica, Cape Corse. This wild promontory is only 40 kilometers in length, and we will make an anti-clockwise circumnavigation of the finger. At every bend in the road, there is a picturesque marine fishing village, a coastal path, grain mills, and of course Genoese towers seem to dot the peninsula at almost every breath. Sailors would often express their love for Cape Corse by calling it an island within an island. The next day, we take a ferry from Bastia to Nice on the French mainland. It will take us 6.5 hours. By the time we arrive in the French Riviera, it will have been 25 days since we set foot on mainland soil. Linked by ferries all the way from Malta, jewels of the Mediterranean, is a timeless adventure.